raging patriot. Be here today with a repeat. I think this is my first repeat guest. We have Steve, also known as the Unfiltered Conservative. Very excited to have him back on so we can talk about everything happening today and a little update on his personal story. First, let's talk about some major things happening across the United States. I'm going to provide the silver lining for you. It's hard to find a silver lining these days, I know. But here's what I think. With everyone, including the vaccinated on both sides of the political spectrum, being told they now have to wear masks again, in blue states at least, this is going to wake them up. Now, there's some that are a lost cause. We all know them. But there are some that are in the middle, or that silent majority. They are being woken up by this because they're realizing they've been lied to yet again. That is my silver lining when I think of everything happening across the United States concerning this surge of COVID cases and mask mandates going back into effect, vaccine mandates happening every day. You're hearing about that. I'm going to save my specifics when I have Steve on, but there is something that New York, where Steve is from, and Oregon, where I'm from, have in common. With that said, for those of you who do not remember or who did not tune in for his last appearance, I'm going to play you a little video here so we can jog your memory.
Called a bunch of county executives that we would like to talk to. The people in this building are making mandates. They're making rules. They're attempting to make laws about how our children are wearing masks inside school. That is ridiculous. There is no science and no data to support this. Unmask our children. Unmask our children. Otherwise, we will be out here all.
I love it. That couldn't be more well-timed, because just today, and welcome, Steve, just today, the state of Oregon here just announced that all schools, no matter what county, what school district you're in, children from K to 12 are going to be required to wear masks. Steve, let's talk about this. Welcome, by the way. I'm so lit up, and I'm so glad that you were standing up for kids in your home state of New York. Gosh, thank you so much for doing that. We need to clone you.
Well, first off, I appreciate you having me back here for the second time. And, you know, what everybody saw was a protest that we had outside our county executive building. And right after we protested, they actually... the county executive in Suffolk County, New York, sent a letter to the tyrant Governor Cuomo to unmask our kids that day. And actually it did work, and then they pulled it back. So, you know, and by the way, I don't even have kids, and I'm protesting for the future of our children.
God bless you. Seriously. You know, I'm caught right now because my first instinct is to unenroll them from public school, which I pay for with tax dollars, but to unenroll them and figure out alternative education. Yeah, I could enroll them in private school, but that's incredibly expensive and could put you in a bad financial position for the future. And I don't want to give the left that power over my household. The other thing is that we could stay, and I could direct my kids to go to school and refuse to wear a mask. And I have to figure out at their ages of 10 and 7, is that appropriate? And I'm caught in this position. What are your thoughts on that? I know you don't have kids, but what are your thoughts on the predicament that many parents, such as myself, find ourselves in?
Well, I think it's a great opportunity for the communities to come together I know some people in New York, some moms, because it's all the moms that are out there wanting to make a difference. That's just the truth here. And the mothers are actually getting their licenses to do homeschooling, and they're going to be rotating days and bring the kids into a home. So Monday will be at this house, Tuesday, Wednesday, and so on and so on. And I know that a lot of moms here on Long Island are actually going to do that. So that's something that you could look into. And as for telling your kids to not wear the mask, it's going to be the teachers that are going to be putting fear into the kids to put the mask on. So it's kind of like it's your call as your parent on what you want to do.
Right, right. It's a tough one. I don't want to do something that's going to emotionally scar them, but I also want to teach them how to fight for their rights. But yeah, homeschooling's the first thing that came to mind, and I'm like, wow, that is tough. My husband and I both work full time. I'm telling you guys this because this is a very real situation. You have a dual income household. We both work full time. So because of the nonsense that people in blue states are dealing with, we now have to make a life-altering decision on having them go to public school where they're going to have to wear masks, and eventually they're going to be facing this indoctrination because the critical race theory has passed in the state of Oregon. Or we pull them out and one of us, it would be me, quits my job and tries to homeschool, or I have to go find a group where we could rotate days. I mean, whatever we do, it's a big deal, and it will change our lives. But you know what? That's what we have to do. We have to protect our children. So,
correct.
Yeah.
You have to protect your children.
Well, I appreciate you fighting. Oh, sorry. I appreciate you fighting because it means so much to mothers like me. So thank you for that.
Thank you. Appreciate that. And I always will.
All right. I'm going to pivot into, this has been a hot topic for my last two guests, and that is dating as an open conservative. What has that been like for you? Dating apps, etc. I want to hear your experience.
So I've been single for about 8 or 9 months or whatever, and I haven't really been looking for too much or whatever. But on these apps that they have, like Tinder, Bumble, whatever, Hinge, whatever it is, what bothers me the most, right, is I can't prove that they're shadow banning you on these dating apps, but I know they are. The matches aren't coming in, which is just you know that something is wrong. And even on top of that, the woman in this generation, the vaccines that they put a sticker or on their profile that says vaccinated, and they also are wearing the mask in their pictures. It's an instant left. It's a swipe left exactly where they belong, swiping left to the liberals and swipe right for the conservative woman out there. So it's funny how that works. But it's a little bit more difficult. I'm more of an in-person type of guy to talk to you. These apps, it's just not my thing at all. I have them, but it's not my thing.
Yeah, right. I totally get it. Yeah, no, that's you're not alone, because I know that my last two guests have definitely faced where they're facing the same difficulties because they do have mentions of their political party on their pages or profiles, and they're definitely seeing a massive reduction in matches. And so there's no way that many women are liberals. I mean, I feel like you and I have connected about this before, and through your TikToks and your Instagram, you've been hit on a lot by the ladies, right?
Yeah. So a lot of women, what they do is they'll ask you a question in the DMs, but they already know the answer to that question, and they just want to conversate, which I'm totally okay with. It's no hard feelings whatsoever. So yeah, it happens, I would say, on a daily basis, maybe every other day basis. Oh, did you hear about so-and-so? You know the answer. You just want to talk, which is completely fine.
Yeah. Hey, that's flattering, right? But it just drives home the point that there are matches out there. You're absolutely being shadow banned by these disgusting. I don't think people really realize this. I don't hear a lot of chatter about being shadow banned from dating sites. That's totally happening. You know it is. It's happening everywhere else.
It is happening. And I swear to God, true story, I have a friend who's a lesbian who was banned on Tinder because she was making fun of the LGBT community. So the biggest oxymoron.
Oh my gosh.
And last year
That
she
is
was banned.
insane.
Yeah.
That is
Yeah,
literally
it's funny.
insane. I didn't know you could get banned from a dating app without having, without doing something very inappropriate. So that's just
And making
asinine, but everything is.
fun of the alphabet community is inappropriate.
Oh my goodness gracious. All right, so let's do this. Let's pivot. Let's talk a little bit about your experience that's led you to where you are today. And then if you could, we'll pivot from there for our little show and tell.
Yeah, gotcha. So I'll start from the beginning. So obviously my backstory is I went to DC on January 6th. I protested at the Capitol. The actual president of the United States, called for Americans to go there. And I was outside the Capitol steps where a picture was taken of me. And this picture went semi-viral on Twitter. And a bunch of people decided to tag the job that I work at, which then eventually, long story short, led to my termination. And I was a conductor for the Long Island Railroad here in New York. And on May 14th, on January 21st, the day after Biden was inaugurated, I was suspended. May 14th, eventually, I was terminated. And I also want to say that in February, I was offered my job back for taking a 60-day suspension. And it wasn't even a thought to say yes to that because I did nothing wrong, and we will never cave in to evil. And we are currently fighting this through the courts in a legal battle. Well, we're going to be, I should say.
Good for you. I did not know that they had offered your job back. That is such a bold move. Congratulations, because not as many people would have stayed strong like you did. It's the principle of what they did to you. I am curious. Do you have any idea? And you don't have, if this is off limits, I'm totally understanding. But do you have any idea why you were? Why people knew who you were? I mean, I know you had TikTok presence and social media presence, but any idea how they knew you were going to be there and how they knew where you worked?
Well, because this particular protest on the 6th was infiltrated by the FBI and Antifa, it was more than likely some random insiders taking videos throughout the outside part of the Capitol. And it was some individuals who were going through those videos, and one person obviously recognized who I was, and I was wearing a face covering too. So that's how obsessed they are with canceling you in this cancel culture that we're in. And I just want to make it clear for the record that I never went inside the building. I was never investigated by the FBI, and nobody came knocking on my door to ask questions. So I've done nothing criminally wrong, and I do not have a criminal record.
Good for you. Yeah, no, that's crazy. They are obsessed. They're so miserable that they have to latch on to anyone that actually has good in them, willing to fight the good fight. It's just disgusting. Let's talk about during your recent deposition. I know you can only talk about one little tiny piece of it, but the part that pertains to KSok Uncensored, please share with the audience what happened.
So before I talk about the very, very brief KSok part, I do want to say that one day the details to the deposition are going to get out there, and it is an absolute disgrace what my former career and the stuff that they tried to do and attempt to do to me. And I'm not going to talk about it, but it will come out, and you guys will all see how real this cancel culture is. So I just want to make that very clear. So what happened was, they asked me if I was on any particular podcast or episodes in between the times of being suspended and being terminated. And they actually had a picture of you. And when I said, yes, I was on a podcast called KSok, and they obviously are watching. So maybe everybody at home, why don't you wave to some Long Island
Give them a little
Railroad
dance.
representatives really watching this.
I've puked on your railroad before.
Who has that
Woo!
too?
That's how I feel about it. Oh gosh, if you live in New York City, you understand.
Yeah, or work out of.
But oh yeah, exactly. That's crazy. I know. I couldn't believe when you told me that. I was floored, absolutely floored. Oh my gosh, that is insane.
Yeah,
well, hey, you were honest. You had nothing to hide.
Well, when you have God and the truth on your side, you don't have anything to hide.
Right, right. It's true. Absolutely. All right. I want to talk about something that ties New York City and New York State and Portland together. And that is the fact that city employees and state for New York are being required, vaccines are being mandated. And if you absolutely decline the vaccine, you have to undergo weekly COVID testing. And New York put that in place, what, 2 days ago? And I knew that here in Oregon, that Mayor Ted Wheeler was going to do the same for the city of Portland. Lo and behold, he rolls it out today. And so now every city employee, well, including all the Portland police officers, are going to have to either get vaccinated or undergo weekly tests. And I can't help but thinking about all of the people that have become billionaires through all of the pharma and not excluding these tests. Think about the hundreds of thousands of tests that they are going to need to purchase and have on hand for those employees that will hold out and not get the vaccine. I mean, that's the magnitude and the cost. We're making so many evil people rich right now.
This is the definition of medical tyranny, to force inoculate, force vaccine somebody who doesn't want to. It violates all the HIPAA laws that were created in 1996 for you to not even say what was medically wrong with you. That's what HIPAA is. And they are just making their move. It's totally satanic. It's totally disgusting. And they are now putting, excuse me, they're now putting a very unique position into all Americans, that you are going to have a decision to make. Are you going to submit to tyranny, medical tyranny, or are you going to stand up for what you believe in and fight? Because you're not going to be alone. And other people are going to get the vaccine, because I have to keep my job. But more people don't want to get it. So stand up. This is the time. Because if we submit, we're going down to lockdown 2.0 and our life is over. That is just a brief summary about all of this.
Absolutely. I mean, I know that you were talking about this and it really resonated with me. Americans, and myself included, so I will put myself in this bucket, we're so quick to say, go Cuba, get on the streets. Awesome. Cuba, free Cuba. Yet we're not doing anything we're not taking it to the streets. You're the very small percentage that has, but you think about the mass amounts of protests happening all over the world, including in Cuba. And we're not doing that here in the United States, while our country and our freedoms are being flushed down the toilet every single day. Why do you think that Americans are not taking it to the streets like the other countries that we are witnessing?
Yeah, so for example, you have Australia, you have Spain, you have England that are having hundreds of thousands of people that are out in the streets peacefully protesting, by the way, because none of them are being violent. The reason why the United States isn't quite there yet is because the lockdowns have been a lot more severe in their countries than us. So Australia has never been out of lockdown. They've been on lockdown for a year and a half. They had a woman, maybe like sometime 8 months ago or whatever it was, she made a Facebook post and the police were knocking on her door later that day. So they have full-blown tyranny going on. We don't have that yet because we are the West, we are the best, we are the United States, but it's going to come here. I mean, and Israel was the first country to roll out passports, and we're rolling that out now in New York City. So all these people that are in red states that say, my governor's never going to allow that. Yes, DeSantis did sign bills, but do you think they're not going to try? They don't care about the law. It's medical tyranny. They don't care about the Constitution. They don't care about what you think. This is pure evil, and it's going to happen in your state if you don't fight back now.
Yeah, you're absolutely spot on. That was really good to hear your perspective on that, because I was trying to figure out really why it's not happening here. And that does make sense. I did see that woman arrested after posting that YouTube video. I remember watching that and thinking, I think she had her little kids all running around her too. It was horrible. And I couldn't help but putting myself in her shoes. I'm like, wow, that could be my reality someday. And it may. And the other thing with these other countries, they don't have the Second Amendment protecting them like we do. And so you're going to see a lot less resistance in that way, where they just can't protect themselves like we can. And so I don't even know. I see what's happening to them in our future. I think what was happening just recently. I mean, just think about, so we have the Arizona audit, all these results are coming out. It's proving these conspiracy theories to be truth. And what does Twitter do? They shut down the Arizona audit account, Twitter account. And so it's like, as soon as the truth comes out, shut it down. And eventually people on, like I was talking about earlier, in the middle are going to stand up with us on the right. It's taken a while, but I do see people waking up. What are your thoughts on that, though? You may disagree with me.
No, it's at some point, the dumbest of the dumb are going to wake up. And this is where it is now. So you had to wear the mask, and then you had the mask police tell you to do it. Then you got to take the vaccine. Then you had the vaccine police tell you to do it. Now the Center of Disease Control, now Dr. Fauci, who these liberals think is God, are now saying, vaccinated or not, you're a super spreader, you must wear the mask. Now the dumbest people are saying, wait a second, I just listened to everything you've done. I believe that I'm a hero, which they literally believe they're heroes. They have their little stickers, I got vaccinated, and it means a lot to them. And they're the ones that are like, wait a second, this isn't right. And are they going to go with their guts and put their egos to the side and say, you know what, I've been wrong for a year and a half? Or are they going to continue to submit to tyranny? We're going to see, because we are now at that time frame. And I do believe the dumbest of the dumb are going.
There was a great meme just recently, and it said, when someone friend requests me with that little banner that says, I've just been vaccinated or stay at home. And it's the guy from was it the Gladiator? And he was like, or, you know, like that's like, what was it? Up is death and then down. Yeah. Oh, it was hilarious. I love that. But that's how I feel too. I'm like, if you have a stupid banner, I'm going to block you just because you have a banner.
It's kind of like the dating apps when you see that I got vaccinated, swipe left, real quick, so fast.
Yeah, yeah. You send them into liberal la la land. Oh, goodness gracious. So outside of New York City, you're on Long Island. What is happening in New York State right now that maybe not everybody knows about?
Okay, yeah. So obviously I'm on Long Island, which where I am is pretty much, it's red. It's just very expensive, high taxes, or whatever the case may be. But just because we're a red Long Island, these schools and these teachers unions are all blue. So a lot of these school districts are still mandating the mask. As for the vaccines, we don't know yet. They're probably going to wait till last minute to do that. But a lot of these schools are going with, there hasn't been a whole lot of CRT, which is the
critical race theory. Yeah.
Critical race theory. So none of the school districts have rolled that out because there's definitely been a pushback against that. So that's a good thing. There have been school districts that wanted to do it, but the masks are staying. So it's up to the parents. It's going to be up ultimately to the moms that are really going to have to say, either my kid's going to refuse or we got to pull them in public school. So that's kind of like the first thing. Even though we're red, we're still having blue policies in our schools, which is terrible. But the city, New York City, Manhattan, is basically the dumpster fire of New York. So what New York City should be its own state. And then if you had upstate New York and Long Island, it would be incredibly red, because this is a very red island that we're in. But the city, it's infested with illegals, it's infested with liberals, it's infested with the alphabet community, that it's beyond blue because of those policies, and they have everything going on there. So when people think New York, do me a favor, think New York City, do not think Long Island. I'll say that.
Right, exactly. Amen to that. As you know, my husband's from Long Island, and he would completely agree with you on that. And he's very happy that we're going there this upcoming next summer. So I guess I have a year, but it's the first trip where I haven't said, I want to spend 2 nights in the city first. And he's so excited because he's always hated the city, even though he was NYPD when I met him. But I always loved, and I lived in New York City for 2 years, but I always loved it. But this last time I was there, I could see the writing on the wall. And now with everything happening, I don't want to be anywhere near it. And actually, I'm doing my best to not even fly into any of the city airports. I'm trying to fly into the one on Long Island, even if my flight times are horrendous, just because I just don't want anything to do with that disgusting cesspool. So I completely get where you're at, because Long Island has great people there and it's beautiful.
Yeah. I mean, the airports aren't so bad. It's kind of like the Queens border, which isn't really New York City, but it's still considered this city. But it's MacArthur Airport is where you would want to go. Um, sorry about that. MacArthur Airport. It's an Islip. Fly there, and then in Long Island, you'll enjoy it. Great food, great places to go, and it's expensive. You don't have to wear a mask anymore. You'll see people wearing the mask, and you'll laugh at them, but you won't wear it, so that's okay.
Oh, good. Well, I'm happy to hear that you're experiencing some freedom where you're at. And you know what? I said I wasn't going to wear a mask anymore. And even though they're starting to recommend it again everywhere you go, and you see everybody doing it here, but I'm not. I'm done. I'm never doing that again.
Yeah.
But anyways,
Nope.
no, good for you. We have to do that, and we have to just boycott the places that mandate it. And I do want to say for everyone watching, we weren't able to pop up the comments. Usually I like to interact with you quite a bit. Unfortunately, we weren't able to get that function working today. So I apologize that I missed out on interacting with you. But I am going to be on for the next half hour because like last week, I recorded a podcast last night with Reason Being. And so we're going to air that right after this segment. And we're almost wrapping here. And I will be in the comments live with you so we can chat that way. But I appreciate you guys watching, and I apologize that we didn't get to have that interaction this week. And Steve, I appreciate you coming on so much. You really are a model American, and I know that you're doing what you feel is your calling, and I love that. And I really look up to you for that, because the one thing I'm not doing is taking it to the streets yet. And so I just really admire that about you, and I appreciate you.
Well, thank you. It means a lot to me, and I know I have more support than the haters, they like to say. My last message, 1 minute here, is our country is under a medical tyranny, and we really are under attack. And it's time for Americans to start speaking up and to start speaking out. When they have these mask mandates and these lockdowns into your cities, into your towns, into your schools, you must fight back. If a small business is going to have the mask, take your business elsewhere. If the corporations are going to mandate the mask, shop somewhere else. This is how serious this is going to get, and it's going to be. The time is now to fight back. And if we submit to lockdown 2.0, we are finished.
Yes, we are. Amen to that. I appreciate that so much. Steve, thank you for coming on. Powerful message. And we will be in contact. I appreciate you. And you have a wonderful evening.
Yes, you too. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Well, you guys, thank you so much for tuning in. Don't forget, like I said, we have Reason Being right after me, and then followed by Reason Being, we have the Counterculture Mom, one of our newer shows. And then after that, we have the Loaded Mic. So we have a great lineup. I would love for you to hang on and watch and be able to leave comments so they can see how they're doing. And then also don't forget that we are partnered with MyPillow, and our specific code is RAM, RAM. So next time you go to purchase something on MyPillow, please use our discount code. And there's the phone number there. That phone number is specifically for RAM. You can use the phone number, or if you're purchasing it online, use our discount code. It benefits us both. Thank you so much, and I will see you in the comments on this next segment. Have a great night.